Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Kashif Kamran, your tutor, and I welcome you to the fifth and the final day of the Advanced Audit and Assurance Practice to Pass session for December 2018 examination being organized by ACCA Pakistan. Now, the agenda for the fifth and the final day is to focus on reporting. And just before I start to tell you more about the fifth and the final day agenda, let's do a quick recap of the entire practice to pass session. Now, this session was spread on 5 days, and today is the fifth and the final day of the session. Over the last 4 days, we have focused on business risk and risk of material misstatement. We have focused on writing evidence and procedures. We have also focused on ethical, professional, and quality control issues. And then yesterday, we were focusing on the due diligence review and performance information. And that's all is bringing us to the fifth and the final day, where the focus is on reporting. Now, in terms of reporting, the questions which I have chosen to be done in the session includes June 2018 question number 5 and December 2017 question number 5. And for the home assignments, you have December 16 and June 15. Now, the reason of choosing June 18 and December 17 as my session questions is what you can see in the right-hand side where the previous sessions have been given. In terms of the previous sessions, in March 2018, I have already conducted the question June 13 question number 5 and June 14 question number 5. So you can utilize the March 18 webinar for those two questions. Then the same two questions was done in the June 18 webinar, but in the September 18 webinar, I did the June 17 and the June 16. So that means with this webinar, you have plenty of practice material which you can utilize, which you can refine, and which you can use for your success in the December exams. Now, for reporting, as with every day, there is an article. And again, this is the same exam technique articles I have been referring since the day one. And finally, this is the exam technique article part 5. And this fifth exam technique article is being written on reporting and what issues students normally do when they attempt a question on reporting. Now, again, if you go to the ACC website where you have these technical articles and you browse down the technical articles, now all the 5 articles have been recommended. The part 1, which is ethics, the part 2, which is risk, the part 3, which is accounting issues, the part 4, which is audit procedures, and now finally down with the part 5, which is audit reporting. This is such an important article. These technique articles, all the 5 technique articles are very, very important, and you should be reading that. And I have emphasized upon all these 5 articles during my session. Now, in terms of reporting, if you look at exactly what the examiner expects from you as being a student appearing for the Advanced Audit and Assurance exam and taking on a question on reporting. Now, since the September 18 exams, the paper has become all compulsory. Now that means the question on reporting itself is compulsory. Question number 2 of the paper has to be on reporting, because examiner says that the question 2 has to be on completion and reporting stage. So in the last exam sitting, September, the question 2 was on reporting, and the same precedence will go down into the December 18 exams. Now there are 2 types of things which you should ideally be prepared for through the session today when you are looking at a question on reporting. One is known as critical appraisal. This has been a very popular question with the advanced audit and assurance examining team. And in the last many exam sittings, a couple of times the examiner has raised a question on the critical appraisal of the report. The examiner will present a report to you, which will be like a draft report, and which will not be the full audit report, which will just be the selected sections of the report. And the examiner would ask you that the report which I have given to you, read the report and identify where there are problems in the report, where you find problems in the report. Now, the problems in the report can be in terms of the placement of the report, that something which should come first is not coming first. Something which should come in the end is coming first. So the placement of the report is very important. So please ensure that you are very familiar with the placement of the report and which paragraph comes at number 1, which paragraph comes at number 2, which paragraph comes at number 3. So you need to revise the format of the report. And again, the examiner article would help you with that. And even the textbooks, the BPP and Kaplan, will be helping you down with knowing the format of the report. But please don't take a risk of not knowing the format. Because if you are unaware of the format of the report, then there is a high likelihood that if a question comes on a critical appraisal, you will be struggling with attempting that question. Because most of the time, the weaknesses in the critical appraisal is also about the positioning of the paragraph. So if the paragraph has been wrongly positioned, how would you judge it? And how would you tell examiner this has been wrongly placed? So that is very, very important, right? Then secondly, when the examiner is asking you a critical appraisal, there the weakness will not only be the positioning of the paragraphs in the audit report, but it will also be about the opinions given in the audit report. Most of the time, the opinion given will be wrong, and you have to justify why it is wrong. You have to justify why the opinion given in the draft report is wrong, why you believe it is wrong. So you have to do the critical appraisal even of the opinion which has been given in the audit report. So when the question comes on the critical appraisal, you need to critically appraise the report. And there might be many mistakes in the report in terms of the positioning of the report, in terms of the opinion in the report, even in terms of the language used in the report, even in terms of something not properly defined in the report, something not properly written in the report. So there might be many blunders in the report which you need to identify. And I'll be drilling a question on the same subject, so you will have a better idea what exactly critical appraisal means. Now the marking scheme, if you look at my first bullet, has come down. The marking scheme for critical appraisal used to be 1.5 marks per critical appraisal, which has now scaled down to 1 mark per appraisal. So for your December 18 exams, if you get a question on appraisal will have 1 mark. Previously, the appraisal used to have 1.5 marks per appraisal. Now, every appraisal is worth 1 mark. And in the entire reporting question, anything which the examiner asks in a reporting question, right, is worth 1 mark. So reporting has the most systematic marking scheme, because anything the examiner asks you in reporting, whether the examiner asks you matters, actions, adjustments, critical appraisal, anything, everything is worth 1 mark. So that's an easier marking scheme to remember in the exam context. Then the second bullet tells you appraisal is both positive and negative in the context of the exam paper. When you are appraising something, examiner is saying critical appraisal. So when you are appraising something critically, that could be both positive and negative, because the critical appraisal means the 360 degree. So in the audit report, there can be something positive And in the audit report, there can be something negative. So if you believe something has been rightly placed or something has been rightly positioned, then you have to justify why. And if you believe something has been wrongly placed or something has been wrongly positioned, then you have to tell examiner why. So if you think something is positive in the report, then you have to tell examiner why, and you will get your 1 mark. If you think something is negative in the report, something is wrong in the report, then again you have to tell examiner the why, and again you will get your 1 mark. And those of you who have been consistent in all the 4 days and have been in the live session, one of my emphasizable point has been the why. And a lot of you have learned that the why is the key. Because if you fail to give the why and what in your answer, then your answer is not getting to the cent% marks. So if there is a 1 mark credit, you will not get the 1 mark credit. Rather, you will get a half a mark. So if you really want to get that 1 mark credit, then you have to tell examiner not just the problem, but why it is a problem. And even if you say something is positive or something is right, then why it is right. Because the examiner is testing your knowledge. So critical appraisal is one of the questions I will be doing in the live session today. And I have allocated a question which is June 18, which is the most recent one on this topic. And I will be exercising in the live session to give you a better idea of the lecture which I've given you on the critical appraisal. And I'll be exploring more of this topic once I go off my presentation and start taking the word file. Now, if you look at the other questions which comes on reporting, critical appraisal is one complete question, because with critical appraisal, the examiner never involves any extra requirements. So if a question comes on a critical appraisal, right, the question on critical appraisal is a complete question. But if the question does not comes on critical appraisal, the examiner has tested many other things in reporting. If you look at the column on the right, it says the other typical questions of reporting ask for impact on the audit report, which is very natural thing in a question on reporting. So impact on the audit report, actions, what actions should the auditor take, and the matters. So one of a more frequent repeating requirements in a question on reporting do ask students to write upon impact on the report, actions which the auditor will take, and the matters. So there is another, these three are very popular requirements, and I will be telling you about each one of them in my session today. Impact on report, actions, and matters. Then the plenty of practice, as in like 5 to 6 reporting questions in recent past, will give you a better understanding of the types of question, because I personally believe reporting is a easier topic provided you do good practice. If you attempt like 5 to 6 recent questions on reporting, you will know exactly what the examiner asks in reporting, and you will become very familiar with critical appraisal. You will become very familiar with writing actions. You will become very familiar with writing the impact on report, and you will become very familiar with writing the matters. So if you can just practice like 6 questions from more recent questions and go backwards. So if you can just practice like 6 questions within the bracket of 2015 and 2018, would be a very good practice for you to take command and control on a reporting question, and you will understand all the challenges. Now, what to expect in reporting this time considering the September exam sitting? I'll try answering that at the end of my session. What to expect in a reporting this time considering the last exam sitting? Okay, now let's start preparing ourselves for a practice mode, and a lot of things we need to understand right across the practice session. So one practice I will be doing is on the critical appraisal, and the other practice I will be doing is on the impact on report, actions, and matters. And I have chosen 2 questions for that to be demonstrated, which is June 18 for critical appraisal and December 17 for matters and impact on report. I will be demonstrating how to write positive appraisals and why. So wait for the practice session to start. And Lara can't understand why examiner testing our knowledge on marking scheme. He's not testing your knowledge on marking scheme. Obviously, ACCA publishes the answers, and the answer contains the marking scheme. So when you go to the exam hall, you should be knowing the marking schemes, because that really saves your time. Because then you might come out of the exam hall complaining that I couldn't complete my paper. So examiner is not testing you on the marking schemes. Rather, examiner is giving you a proper guidance that how much points you need to write in an exam paper, and that's not difficult. Okay, back to the session. Now, in the course of my session today, once I go back on my Word file, these are many questions which I will be asking you, and I will be clarifying you through my session today. These are questions which will come randomly in my session today, and I will be seeking your perspective on these questions as well, and I will be giving you clarifications on these questions as well, because the examiner article, which is the exam technique article part 5, examiner says students are so weak in these 5 areas, and you should have a proper knowledge in these 5 areas, and I will take you to the examiner article to show you the criticism of the examiner with each of these 5 questions. So wait for these 5 questions to become part of the session and to know exactly how to go with them. Okay, let's take on the Word file and let's start drilling the question on reporting. Now, this is the same Word file I've been using consistently for the last 4 days, and I'm using the same one today for the day 5. Let's start with this day 5, and let's see what we first need to understand, followed by the practice. Okay, now attempting a question on reporting. Attempting a question on reporting. Number one thing, you should be knowing how to do a critical appraisal of the audit report. And secondly, you should know how to write impact on report. You should know how to write actions. You should know how to write methods in a question on reporting. So if the examiner asks you comment on the matters in the question on reporting, you should know how to write it. So critical appraisal, how to write the impact on report, how to write actions, and how to write matters. And I will be giving you a clear understanding on each of the 4 areas. So when you go down and do the past papers, you can easily attempt the past papers. Now that's one agenda for the day today. Second, the knowledge. The knowledge you should have to attempt a question on reporting. And where will the knowledge come from? The best source of the knowledge is the AAA examining team articles. And can you imagine how many articles the examining team have written on reporting since the new report has come in? 3 articles. And if you read those 3 articles, you would have so ease in understanding. Number 1 article you have to read is the exam technique article. So if you read the exam technique article, which is part 5, this article will tell you about the problems, about the issues the students do in the exam paper. The students do in exam paper. This is more student friendly document. Now, if you want to know about which paragraph comes first and which paragraphs come second and so on and so forth, there is already an examiner article which says the new audit report. I'll just show you that on the ACC website, the new audit report. And then there is an article which is specifically about key audit matters, which is a very, very important part of the new audit report. So you can explore the knowledge from these three articles. And after reading these three articles, if you still believe there is some ambiguity, then you can take on the textbook, either BPP or Kaplan. But first priority is the examining team article. And I believe that if you read all these three articles, there is no need of the book because these are so well written article of the ACCA examining team for the AAA exams. Now, if I just show you these three articles, I have shown you this article, which is the part 5 right in front of the screen. The first article, you can see exam technique for advanced audit and assurance part 5, which is about audit reporting. Then you go down and you can see this article right in front of your screen. Audit reporting, an update for P7 students on key audit matter. So this is an article on key audit matter. So if you want to be really good on key audit matters, then you will be exploring this article. And then there is an article which is titled the new audit report. So if you just want to know the basics of the report and the placement of the report and the positioning of the report and basic facts about the new report, then you have to read this article, the new auditor's report. So these are three good articles, right? Which you can go down and read them for your preparation for this topic. Okay, then the next thing you should be familiar with, that you should take this as the knowledge to attempt a question on reporting. And the types of questions which comes on reporting, I have already mentioned them above. Now that is making us in place to start on with the practice of these questions. Amir, yes, exactly. That was the same report I used in the March session. And Abdullah, the strategy to follow to complete the syllabus and be ready for exams. I try my best if I can spend 5 minutes at the end of the session today to give you some key tips on the strategy. But currently, let's focus on reporting. And all of you, if you have any questions, please hold your questions for the last 15 minutes where I will be more glued towards your question and answering them. Okay, let's start on with the practice phase. So we got the knowledge sources and we got the questions. Okay, now let's go with the first one. Now, before we start a question on critical appraisal, let's do a question and answer session. The first question, which is very important for you to be good on, is when to use which opinion. Because a lot of time, student gets confused with reusing the right opinion. When a qualified opinion has to be used, the student tends to use an adverse opinion. Or perhaps when a qualified opinion has to be used, the student use a disclaimer of opinion. So let's get down with the first answer here, when to use which opinion. And let's spend 5 minutes on that, when to use which opinion. When to use which opinion. Let's make a quick summary of this before we take on a question. Number one, when to use which opinion is so simple. If in the case the financial statements are misstated due to an accounting issue, if you think that in a case study the financial statements are misstated due to an accounting issue, you need to think whether the financial statements are materially misstated or the financial statements are materially and pervasively misstated. I'm using the short form for the later lecture, M and P, materially and pervasive. And I'll be using the short form M for materially misstated. So if you find a misstatement in the exam paper in a reporting question, you will use your calculators to identify whether the misstatement is material or the misstatement is materially and pervasively misstated. Now, if it is materially misstated, then you will issue a qualified opinion. And if it is pervasively misstated, then you will issue an adverse opinion. Now, I will be telling you where pervasive starts from, So when something is material but not pervasive, you will issue a qualified opinion. And when something is material and pervasive, you will issue an adverse opinion. The same goes down with number 2. If in the case the auditor is unable to obtain evidence, So in a case, if the auditor is unable to obtain evidence, then number 1, you have to think, is it material? Or number 2, is it material and pervasive? Material and pervasive. If you think the auditor is unable to obtain evidence and that evidence is material, then again the auditor will issue a qualified opinion. And if the auditor thinks that that particular opinion is material and pervasive, then the auditor will issue a disclaimer of opinion. So this is which opinion to use. Now, to be good on this, it's very simple. These are the two issues, right? Number 1, if the financial statements are misstated due to an accounting issue, and number 2, if the auditor is unable to obtain evidence. And under that, simply you have to pick whether it is material or material and pervasive, and you can judge the right opinion in the exam paper. Now, lastly, what is material and what is material and pervasive? Because most of you will be asking this question to me. So instead of you asking me, I'm giving you the answer beforehand. What is material and what is material and pervasive? Now, something is material, which you know that. Something is material. Something is material. And that something will be in the case study, right? Something is material if it is, number 1, half to 1% of the revenue. Half to 1% of the revenue. You know these percentages, right? Across the paper. 1 to 2% of the total assets and 5 to 10% of the profit before tax. So something is material when you find that to be half to 1% of revenue, a 1 to 2% of the total assets, or like 5 to 10% of the profit. So that's a simple calculation. Now, something is pervasive, something is material and pervasive from the examination point of view. Something is material and pervasive if it exceeds 60% of the revenue, or if it exceeds 60% of the total assets, or if it exceeds 60% of the profit. So if you divide something with the profit and the percentage comes like 60 or comes more than 60, exceeds 60% of the profit, then in the exam paper, you will be thinking about this is pervasive. So that means something is material when it is half to 1% of the revenue up to 60%, up to 60%. And if it exceeds 60%, And if it exceeds 60%, then automatically it will become pervasive. So this is the clear structure, right, of judging in the exam paper what is material and what is material and pervasive. So please emphasize on the word exceeds. Exceeds. So be very careful about this word, right? Wakas Shokat, I try my best to do so in the duration of my session. So this is material and pervasive. Now, one last thing. Something are material by nature. What is material by nature? All director transactions. All director transactions are material by nature. All related party transactions are material by nature. Related party transactions have come so many times in the past paper, right? So all related party transactions are material by nature. And in the question we will be doing in the session today also includes that. So for something, we don't take out the percentage. Yes, exactly, Ali Chaudhry. It says exceeds. So if it is exactly 60, then it's material. If it exceeds 60, then that is pervasive. So directed transactions, related party transactions is something material by nature, and something which is pervasive default, something which is pervasive by default, something in the exam which you will treat as pervasive by default. If the management refuse to give a representation letter. So if the management is not giving you a representation letter, if the management is not giving you the representation letter, that is by default pervasive. Then if the disclosure note relating to material uncertainty, if the disclosure note relating to material uncertainty with regards to going concern, with regards to going concern is not given. If the management has not given a disclosure with regards to the material uncertainty with regards to the going concern, so if the management has not given a note for the material uncertainty relating to going concern, then this is pervasive by default. So if the management refused to give you a representation letter, it will result down into a disclaimer because you're not getting the evidence. And if the disclosure note is not given with regards to the material uncertainty relating to going concern, then it will become adverse. So these are pervasive by default, right? These are pervasive by default. And these are material by nature. Rest is all the percentage. Rest is all the percentage, right? And yes, Mohammed Siddiqui, two things can add up and exceed 60. That's true, because in a reporting question, if you think one thing is material and the second thing is material, you accumulate both and it becomes more than 60%. For example, one misstatement is 30% and the second misstatement is 35%. Individually, 30% and 35% is material, but when you aggregate 30 with 35%, it becomes 65%. So on the aggregate basis, they become pervasive. So they can be material individually, but they can be pervasive on an aggregate basis. I hope you got your answer, Mohammed Siddiqui. Okay, so these are the numbers you will be using in the exam paper, right? What is material and what is material and pervasive? I have given you in context of the percentages, and I have given you in the context of something pervasive by default and something which is material by nature. Okay, then continue down second. When to use an murgc para? When will you incorporate a material uncertainty relating to a going concern para in the audit report? And I hope all of you know This paragraph is very important in the new report, and this paragraph comes right after the basis of opinion. So the first paragraph in the audit report is an opinion paragraph. The second paragraph is the basis of opinion paragraph. And the third paragraph is the MURGC, material uncertainty relating to going concern. Let's see how clear you are when to use an MURGC paragraph. So that's the next question. When to use an MURGC paragraph? MURGC paragraph. So there are some conditions, right, with relating to this MURGC paragraph in the audit report. This paragraph will not come every time, but when the conditions of the paragraph are met, the paragraph will come. What are the conditions? If the company is a going concern and material uncertainty exists, which are disclosed in the notes to the financial statements by the management, then the auditor will add a MURGC paragraph in the audit report highlighting the note given by the management. So these are the conditions, right? No ifs on these conditions. This is the rule of this paragraph. When will this paragraph come? If the company is a going concern, number one, material uncertainty exists, number two, which is disclosed in the notes by the management, three. Now you cannot say, what if it is not disclosed? Then obviously this paragraph will not come. So this paragraph will come for three things. If the company is a GC, there is a material uncertainty and it is disclosed in the notes. So on that context, you will include this paragraph in the audit report. Else you will not include it. Right, Fahad Ali, this is a practice to pass session, right? And within the limitations, not everything can be explained. You need to read your textbooks for many things because this is not a classroom, basically. This is basically a session which is more focused to practice and looking at the key points. So what basically is a material uncertainty? You need to seek the answer of that from your textbooks. Yes, for both listed and non-listed. Not at all, Numan. Qualified, the report will be qualified in MURGC. Qualified is an opinion. The report will be modified. Not qualified, the report will be modified. Modified is the right word, not qualified. Yes, if it is not disclosed, Amir Nadil, if it is not disclosed, see what I've written here. Pervasive by default. And I've given you the answer already. So I've already given you the answer for that, right? So when to use the MURGC paragraph in the audit report? If the company is a going concern, material uncertainty exists, which is disclosed in the notes to the financial statement, then the auditor will add an MURGC paragraph. So that means the MURGC paragraph will only come on the conditions. So if these conditions are met, the MURGC paragraph will come. Yes, exactly. Shamila John, you can do that when you're writing the why answer. Okay, my third question was when to use CAM, which is very important because the examiner says students use CAM so wrongly in the audit report. When to use CAM? When to use CAM? So I'm giving you insights of every major paragraph which is in the audit report before I take on the exam paper. So you need to concentrate on the rules of every paragraph. Because if you make ifs and if you take hypothetical assumptions around the rules, you will spoil your reporting answer, because reporting is a rule-based topic. So you have to stick to the rules. So if your rules are clear, you will survive in a reporting question. But if you spoil the rules by saying ifs, and if you spoil the rules by taking assumptions, then you're spoiling your answer. So you have to be clear on the rules, right? So I have written the rules for murgc, and if these rules are met in the exam paper, then only the murgc paragraph will come in the audit report. Okay, now when to use CAM? And I have emphasized on when to use CAM so many times in my previous webinars, March, June, and September, but let's still emphasize them. First of all, the CAM has to come for a listed company only. So when you're reading the case, you have to read it very carefully. If the question says ABC is a listed company, then you can think about CAM. But if the case says ABC is non-listed company, then you cannot think about CAM. So the first thought process about CAM has to come if the question says it is a listed company. But if the question says it is a non-listed company, then obviously CAM cannot come. And the examiner in a reporting question gives that very clearly. In a reporting question, the examiner will tell you ABC is a listed company, and the examiner will tell you ABC is a non-listed company. So you have to be very careful underlining which company are you facing. Is it a listed company or a non-listed company? Because CAM will only come for listed company. The full form of CAM is Key Audit Matters. Key Audit Matters. So the first rule is it will come for the listed company only. Second, it comes for significant matters. It comes for significant matters. Which matters? Audit matters. Significant audit matters. And thirdly, it comes for positive matters, not negative matters. Positive. CAM is not an opinion, right? CAM is a paragraph, and paragraph comes for positive things. Paragraph never comes for negative things. See the murgc paragraph. It was disclosed as positive. So if an accounting treatment is wrong, if there is a wrong accounting treatment, you cannot add CAM. But yes, if there is a right accounting treatment, and that was a very important accounting treatment, you can add CAM for that. So when you think something is positive, something is right, you can emphasize that through a key audit matter. But if there is a wrong accounting treatment cannot go to CAM. Yes, exactly. Comes for significant audit matters. What are significant audit matters? High risky areas, areas involving estimates, use of management judgments, fair values, etc. So this, who is telling you for which matters? This is coming from directly the ISA 701. The ISA 701 tells you the CAM can come for significant audit matters like high risk areas involving estimates, use of judgments, fair values, and the last example given by ISA 701, it can come for events during the year or subsequent events. But again, the matter has to be positive, right? If the subsequent event has not been adjusted, or if the subsequent event has not been disclosed, then you cannot give a CAM. But yes, if a subsequent event has been adjusted, then you can give a CAM. So firstly, it has to be a listed company for CAM. Secondly, it comes for significant audit matters. And thirdly, it has to come for only positive things, because CAM cannot come for negative things. So it has to come for positive things. And a very important thing, when the auditor includes a CAM in the audit report, the auditor has to tell the shareholder two things. The auditor has to tell shareholder two things. Number one, why the matter was considered as scam, why the matter was considered as scam, and how it was resolved and how it was addressed during the audit. How it was addressed during the audit. So these are two things you have to tell the shareholder, right? Why the matter was considered a scam and how it was addressed So CAM only comes for listed companies, right? And CAM only comes for significant matters. CAM only comes for high risky areas. CAM only comes for areas which involves estimates. CAM only comes for events during the year or subsequent events. But the better thing is it has to be positive, because if something is negative, then it will affect the opinion. Either you will give a qualified opinion or you will give an adverse opinion. For Atif Zia, such matters will not be discussed in a private company. The private company is exempt from it. Only a listed company you will emphasize on CAM. If there are such matters in a private company, they will be ignored. They will not be part of the audit report. Okay, now just try to understand something clearly. Just want to share something with you. Right, just for a quick clarification, if you can see right in front of your screen is a new audit report of ICI Pakistan, and for the first time ICI Pakistan has published the new audit report for 2017 and 18. I just want to show you one quick glimpse so you can understand CAM. And ICI is a listed company in Pakistan, right? So the first condition has been met. I just want to show you where have they given the auditor report. And if you see, um, if I just take you to the report of the auditor to show you the exact way of drafting it, you will have some ease to know that it comes for the matters which I have just informed you. See this. Now, right in front of you is the audit report of a listed company in Pakistan, ICI. And you can see it starting directly with opinion, the first paragraph as per the new report. After the opinion paragraph, there is a basis for opinion paragraph, which is coming at number 2. See, there is no murgc paragraph because probably the conditions must not have been met, because ICI is a going concern, is not a company which is subject to material uncertainty. So there is no murgc paragraph. So that means that is a conditional paragraph. Only when the conditions are met will come, else will not come. CAM is a must paragraph. Even if there are no CAM, so you will put the heading CAM and you will say there are no CAMs, but you cannot omit the paragraph CAM. So that means CAM is part of the standard audit report. But just to give you an idea that CAM comes for events, major events, CAM come for estimates, and CAM come for high risky areas. See, and why the matter was considered as CAM and how it was addressed. See the auditor, he's putting a heading CAM, and can you see the two columns on the left and right? In the column on the left, he's telling why it was considered as scam, and in the column on the right, he's saying how our audit addressed the matter. You can see that heading, how our audit addressed the key audit matter. But you are not doing this commentary in the exam paper. You are just telling examiner this matter will give rise to CAM. But you should know that CAM includes two things: why the matter was considered as CAM and how it was addressed. See, accounting for acquisition, that was a major event during the year. They acquired a company. So acquiring a company was a major event. Then you go down, tax contingencies. Tax contingencies is something of a risky area, is something of an estimate. Then you can see the CAM coming on preparation of the financial statements under the Companies Act, because the Companies Act 2017 was used for the first time in Pakistan. That was a very major event. Prior to that, we were using the old Companies Act. Then again, you can see the net realizable value for inventory. It is coming for NRV of inventory, which is such an estimated area. Then it is coming for other matters. So see, can you see how CAM has been written in the two columns? In the one column, the ICI auditor is telling about why the matter was considered as CAM. And in the next, it says this. See, you can see this paragraph just for 1 minute here. This paragraph on the left, it says, as the acquisition represents a significant transaction for the year due to the impact on the current year financial statement, we have considered the accounting of the said transaction as a key audit matter. See, the auditor is saying why I considered the acquisition as a CAM. And in the column next to that, the auditor is telling how it was addressed. So that's exactly what you have to be doing in the exam paper. Why the matter was considered as CAM and how it was addressed. So you should know the contents of CAM. You're not writing CAM paragraph in the exam paper. You're just telling examiner the CAM should come, but you should know what is exactly written in CAM, why and how. But it has to come only for listed companies, for positive matters, and for high risky areas, areas involving judgments and events. But if something is negative, then CAM cannot come at all. And I'll be showing you the examiner criticism on CAM right after completing my topic. So this is what you should be knowing about when to use CAM. The next thing, when will other information para be used? So two of the last things, when to use other information para. Now the answer is when to use this para is a default para of the audit report. This is a default para of the audit report. That means it has to come irrespective. And I hope you know the other information in the document containing the financial statement. Obviously, Rabia, if there was a negative matter, there was a wrong accounting treatment, and the accounting treatment has been corrected during the audit, then obviously when it has been corrected, it will become positive. So if the matter has been corrected, it will automatically become positive. So then again, CAM can be included for that. Okay, if you know the other information paragraph, you know the other information paragraph is about the other information in the audit report. So it deals with the other information in the audit report, and it contains the auditor responsibility for other information. Now the auditor has to read the other information, right? So in this paragraph, the auditor will be telling about his responsibility for other information. That is, he's responsible to read it. Now you've just seen the ICI report. This report was almost like 325 pages, and on the page number 176, we got the auditor report. That means prior to this audit report, you have seen so many information in the ICI report, which was all the other information. They were giving information about the CSR, they were giving information about their values, they were giving information about their ethics, they were giving information about their past performances, etc. 170 pages in the ICI report was on other information, and the auditor is responsible to read the other information. That is the responsibility of the auditor, that he has to read the other information. So auditor responsibility for other information has to read it, and if the auditor find any material inconsistency between the other information and the financial statements, if the auditor find any material inconsistency between the other information and the financial statement, or even the auditor will disclose the material inconsistency in the other information para. If the auditor find no material inconsistency between the other information and the financial statements, the auditor will tell the shareholders in the other information para that there is nothing to report. See the last two bullets. Yes, the scope of the audit is just the financial statement, right? You're not expressing an opinion, Abdullah, on the other information. You're just telling the shareholders that I was responsible just to read them. And while you were reading the other information, if you found anything wrong in the other information, you will be telling that to the shareholder. And in the last bullet, even if you found nothing, you will still be telling the shareholder. For example, the chairman statement states that the revenue has increased by 20%. Revenue has increased by 20%. Now the chairman statement is the other information, right? The chairman statement states that the revenue has increased by 20%, whereas the actual revenue in the financial statements has only increased by 5%. Now see, will you be telling this to the shareholder, that the chairman is stating that the revenue has increased by 20, whereas the actual revenue in the financial statement has only increased by 5%? So will you be adding this third bullet here? See this one? If the auditor find any material inconsistency between the other information and the financial statement, the auditor will disclose the material inconsistency in the other information paragraph. And what if the same situation changes in the exam paper and it comes this way? The chairman statement states that the revenue has increased by 20%, whereas the actual revenue in the financial statement has also increased by 20%. Has also increased by 20%. Now see, the percentages are matching. Kinza, in the other informations, because there are loads of information, there can be typing errors in the other information, there can be mistakes in other information, because normally the management knows the auditor takes a casual approach on other information. So they can do a lot of misstatements in the other information. So that is why the ISA says the auditor has to read the other information, so that if he finds any inconsistency in the other information, you can report the inconsistency to the shareholder. And even if you find nothing, you will still be telling the shareholder that I found nothing, so that the shareholder knows you read it. So see, I hope you're understanding this paragraph has to come irrespective whether there is a problem or whether there is no problem. So if there is a material inconsistency, you will add this paragraph. And if there is no material inconsistency, then you will be telling shareholder that I found nothing. Yes, exactly, Kenza. You're getting it right. It's mandatory to show it. It's mandatory to show it. This paragraph is mandatory, other information paragraph. So whether there is a problem or there is no problem, you have to put this paragraph. Now, just before the break, if I can give you the glimpse from the ICI report that this paragraph is a must paragraph, whether there is a problem or there is no problem. If you can just see this new report of the ICI again, which will supplement my point here. See, after the CAM, you can see this paragraph right in front of your screen. This paragraph right in front of the screen, which says information other than financial statements. And for your sake, if you can just read this paragraph in 2 minutes so that all of you are crystal clear on this paragraph. Just read this paragraph in 2 minutes, and I'm not speaking anything in the next 2 minutes. Just read it and understand this paragraph has to come irrespective, both for listed companies and for a non-listed company. Yes, Fawad, that would be the action, right? That would be the action. So if you need to take an action in the exam paper, you can take that action. So is everyone clear? Particularly, have you read the last paragraph? And the last two lines of the paragraph, it says, if I'm reading from here, if based on the work we have performed, we conclude that there is a material misstatement of this other information, we are required to report that fact. So we are required to report to the shareholder if there is a material misstatement of other information. We have nothing to report in this regard. So the auditor for ICI is saying we have nothing to report. So that means he's saying there was no problems. So are you all understanding after reading this paragraph that this paragraph is irrespective? Basically, this paragraph is about the auditor responsibility. And in the auditor responsibility, the auditor is telling whether there is a problem or whether there is not a problem. If there is a problem, I'll tell you. But see, the auditor of the ICI is saying we have nothing to report in this regard. And you're still giving the paragraph. No, Abdullah, this is part of the standard report, right? That means this is a part of an unmodified report. Any paragraph which is static is part of the unmodified report. So any paragraph which is static is part of the unmodified report, like a CAM paragraph in a listed company, because CAM is a static paragraph in a listed company. So that means CAM is part of the unmodified report. So this paragraph is also part of the unmodified report. A simple rule of thumb, any paragraph which is a static part of the report, which cannot be deleted from the report, is part of the unmodified report. And any paragraph which you can add on the basis of the rule will be part of the modified report. Is everyone clear with other information para? So when to use the other information para, right? This is irrespective. I've shown you the example of ICI. Zahid Abbas, I've given you the example for material inconsistency for other information paragraph. See, I've typed that. See my second last bullet? I've typed that from the past paper. Yes, Vakas Shaukat. Your answer is right. So when to use the other information paragraph, right? And the final thing, before we get to the break and start with exam practice then, when shall the EOMP be used? When shall an EOMP be used? So the last very important paragraph where student makes confusion, when to use an EOMP. Now the first thing you have to be clear about, you will use EOMP in a non-listed company. So if the question says ABC is a non-listed company, then you can think about the emphasis of a meta paragraph. But you cannot think about emphasis in a listed company because CAM has to be given precedence over emphasis in a listed company. So in a listed company, you will use CAM, but you cannot use emphasis in a listed company. You will use an emphasis only when the question says non-listed company. Waqar Ahmed, you have to read the other meta paragraph from the textbook because other meta paragraph has not been a feature of exam, so I'm not covering that in my session. I have to choose the more important things within this 2-hour session so that you can get the best of the report within the 2-hour duration. You will use the EOMP in a non-listed company, right? So you have to read the case very carefully. Secondly, when? What are conditions? What are conditions to use EOMP? There are two conditions. There are two conditions for EOMP. Number one, the matter is material and is correctly disclosed, is correctly disclosed in the notes to the financial statements. I hope you can see the and means both the conditions, both the condition. Yes, emphasis of a meta paragraph, EOMP. Both the conditions in a non-listed company. What conditions you have to underline in the case study? The first, the matter is material. The EOMP will not come for immaterial matter. Yes, Aisha, it will only come for a non-listed company, only for a non-listed company. The matter is material, that's the first condition. Second, is correctly disclosed in the notes. So if both the conditions are met, you will use it. Just a quick example, because I need to start the practice now. For example, if there is a contingent liability, there is a contingent liability of $5 million, which is disclosed in the notes. The profit before tax of the company is $10 million, is $10 million, and the company is non-listed. So if there is a contingent liability for $5 million, which is disclosed in the notes, and the profit of the company is 10 million, the company is non-listed. Is these meeting the conditions of emphasis to be given? At the Sham, if not correctly disclosed, then obviously you will give a qualified opinion. If something is not correctly disclosed, that means the financial statements are materially misstated. So when the financial statements are materially misstated, where I started my topic from, opinions. So if you think something is not correctly disclosed at the Sham, what will happen? The financial statements will be materially misstated. I hope you're clear with that at the Sham. So in my condition, if there is a contingent liability of a $5 million when the profit of the company is 10, the company is non-listed, are these meeting the conditions of giving the emphasis of a meta paragraph? EOMP. And what if the question says, if there is a contingent liability of $5 million, which is not disclosed, which is not disclosed, the profit before tax is $10 million, and the company is non-listed, and the company is non-listed. Now what will you do? Let's see who gives me the right answer. What will you do in the second situation? Perfect. Muhammad Khalid, Mansoor Khan, and many others. You will give a qualified opinion then. How much is the percentage? 50%. Less than 60. You cannot give an adverse opinion. It's 50%, right? Qualified. So I hope you're getting the clarity on emphasis. When the matter is material and it is correctly disclosed, both the conditions, you will give emphasis. And the company has to be non-listed. And if one of the condition is met and the second one is not, then you cannot give an emphasis in the exam paper, right? So for emphasis, both the conditions should be met. So please revise these rules, because you will be getting this Word file uh, over the WhatsApp group, and obviously you will be getting this recording of the session as well. So you can revise these rules through my recording: when to use an emphasis of a matter paragraph, when to use an other information paragraph, when to use CAM, when to use murgc, and which opinion should be given. So I have made you clear on all the key aspects, which will now enable me to start on with the past papers. Muhammad Yusuf Sheikh, I did clarify the percentage. If it exceeds 60%, then it has to be adverse. If it is less than 60%, then it's qualified. Ashlyn, yes, that's the right order. Noman, which situation? Which situation? Number one or number two? Yes, Burhan. If the first situation comes in a listed company, then it will be a CAM. Abdullah, in Pakistan, we started using the new report from this year. The last year, the listed companies in Pakistan was exempt from using the new report. This is the first year the Pakistani companies are using the new audit report. So in that case, your example is wrong. So Noman and Burhan, right? If the first situation comes in the listed company, then you will include a CAM. Abdul Javad Rahil, yes, that will work. Rabia, I'll do that in the end of the session. Yes, last year Pakistan was exempt from using the new report, Abdullah. Okay, let's take a break now. A quick break for 10 minutes. It's 7:15 p.m. the Pakistan Standard Time. At 7:25 p.m. I'll be back with the live class, and from that point onwards, I will just be doing the practice of the questions on the rules I have made, because again, the reinforcement will help you make the rules more better. And again, you have to read a lot of articles on the subject matter to make your rules very clear. And if any question is unattended because of the frequency of questions coming in, please ensure that you're posting your questions on the WhatsApp group so that your questions can be answered and you get a clarification. Because a lot of time the student makes confusion on reporting by just making the ifs. Please don't make ifs. Every condition in a report has a rule. You cannot break the rule, because if you're breaking the rule, you're spoiling your answer. Okay, it's time for a break. In 10 minutes, back with a live class. Let's resume back after the break. And now the purpose is just practice, because practice will make clarification of the rules I have set in. And if I get time after the practice of the two questions, I will be sharing some more important information on reporting with you. But for the time being, please hold on your Q&A, because I am more focused now on practice. Just see the practice, and then if you have any questions, you are more welcome to raise them, but do them in the last 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, now the first question we have to do today is the June 18 question, right? And the purpose of choosing the June 18 question is to give you an idea of how to go about drafting the critical appraisal. See, this question is asking you the critical appraisal. See the requirements. Critically appraise the extracts from the audit report on the consolidated financial statement of the Blackmore Group for the year ended 31st of March 2018. So, and I've just told you the marking scheme that per critical appraisal, you will be getting 1 mark. And the examiner is giving you a note. You are not required to redraft the extracts from the audit report. So that is the rule for the entire paper. You're not redrafting the audit report anywhere. You are just telling what is right and what is wrong. And even if you're telling an impact in any other question, you're not drafting the CAM paragraph. You're just telling examiner the CAM will come in this case and why. You're not drafting the wordings of the paragraphs. So let's start with a critical appraisal of this report, and this will help you understand the order. And I think there was a question from Fahad Ali, though he has left the session. But that question might be important for others as well, that examiner will mention it is a listed company or it is not. Yes, definitely yes. Since the new report has come in, because there is so much in the new report which is just for the listed company, and there is so much in the new report which is just for a non-listed company. So for that reason, the examiner clarify in each question whether it is a listed company, and even the examiner writes it is not a listed company in a reporting question. So examiner will give you a clear track of that. So let's see this question and do the critical appraisal. See, the question starts, you are a manager responsible for the audit of the Blackmore Group, a listed manufacturer of a high quality musical instruments. So a listed manufacturer. So see, the examiner has given you this is a listed company. For the year ended 31st of March, the draft financial statement of the group recognized a loss before tax of a 2.2 million. The last year they had a loss of 1.5 million. So their losses have increased from the last year. And the total assets of a 14.1 million. Last year they had a total assets of 18.3 million. The audit report is nearing completion, and the audit senior has drafted the report for which contains the following extracts. Now let's see what blunders the audit senior has done while he was preparing the audit report. And please remember the total assets of the company, because you need to find out the materiality, and you know why the examiner gives you the total assets number. And this company does not have a profit, rather this company has a loss. The percentage will remain the same, right? 5 to 10% of the profit before tax or 5 to 10% of the loss before tax. The percentage remains the same. Okay, let's start answering the question. See the extracts. The first thing in the extract, key audit matters. Listed company, right? We need to see whether they have included the key audit matter for the right thing or the wrong thing. After the key audit matter, they're giving key audit matters on two things, right? They're giving the key audit matters on valuation of the financial instrument, and they're giving key audit matters on customer liquidation. We have to read and see whether they have given it for the right item and whether they have written it rightly or wrongly. Then after the key audit matter, they're giving a qualified opinion. See the placement. The opinion has to come first, followed by the basis of opinion, and then the CAM has to come. So there is a wrong positioning in the audit report. What is the first paragraph of the report? Opinion paragraph. So you have to be very clear about that. You just saw the ICI report. See, the ICI report was starting with an opinion paragraph first. Opinion. It was followed by the basis of opinion. And then was the CAM. So you can give CAM in the listed company, right? But the placement of the CAM is inappropriate. Right? So the first problem in the question is qualified opinion is coming right after CAM, which is wrong. We need to be critical of that placement. And see the most interesting thing, emphasis of a matter paragraph coming. First of all, emphasis cannot come in a listed company. So the examiner deliberately give you a list, given you an emphasis of a matter paragraph in a listed company because he wants you to criticize that. He wants you to have a critical knowledge that how can an emphasis come in listed company? And for 1 minute, if we assume it can come, then where have you placed the emphasis? Your structure of the report is wrong, right? The structure of the report should have first contained the opinion, followed by the basis of opinion. Then it should have CAM. And see, emphasis has been given for what? We draw attention to the loss before tax of 2.2 million for the year ended 31st of March. And the group is in breach of the loan covenant, which is with its key finance provider. A material uncertainty therefore exists which may cast doubt on the going concern ability. Our opinion is not modified in respect of this matter. Where should this must go? You should tell me, all of you. A material uncertainty therefore exists which may cast doubt on the going concern ability of the company. Where should this go? Yes, that's good answers. That's good answer. This should have gone in the MURGC para. So should we include the emphasis of a meta paragraph for going concern? Should we include a going concern paragraph? Should we include the emphasis for a going concern? Never. So where should a material uncertainty relating to going concern go? MURGC. And where should we place the MURGC? Where should we place the MURGC? Before CAM, after CAM? No, before CAM is the right answer. Before CAM. MURGC comes before CAM. So before CAM is the right answer. So first of all, you cannot give an emphasis in a listed company. Cross. You cannot give an emphasis in a listed company, right? Just cross it. And secondly, this was not an emphasis. This was an MURGC. And the MURGC has to come before the CAM paragraph. Usman, I did mention the marking scheme at the beginning of the session. It's 1 mark per critical appraisal. 1 mark per critical appraisal. So emphasis is wrong. We should have had an MURGC. The placement of the MURGC is wrong. The MURGC should have come before CAM. The qualified opinion should have come as the first paragraph. So the qualified opinion should have gone up, should have been the first paragraph of the audit report, should have been the number 1 paragraph of the audit report. That's wrong as well. Now let's see whether they have included CAM for the right thing or the wrong thing. What I told you, CAM should come in a listed company, right? CAM should come for positive matters. Remember the rules? CAM comes for listed company, comes for positive matter, and number 3, it comes for risky areas, estimates, and major events. Let's see, can you pick this out? This is a test for you, right? Key audit matters. Number 1, valuation of financial instrument. Is valuation of financial instrument a complex area? Yes or no? Is valuation of financial instrument a complex area? Yes. So do we include CAM for complex areas? Do we include CAM for complex area if it is a listed company? Perfect. Yes. Okay. Okay, so valuation of a financial instrument, right? First of all, it's a complex area, so we can include that in CAM, but let's see whether this is right or wrong. It says the group entered into structured forward contract to purchase material used in the manufacturing process. The valuation of these unquoted instrument involve guesswork, so that means this is an estimate, and CAM can be included for estimated areas, involve guesswork, and is based upon internal models developed by the group finance director. That's more judgmental. Thomas Bolin. Mr. Bolin joined the group in Jan, and there is a significant measurement uncertainty involved in his valuation as a result of his inexperience. As a result, the valuation of these contracts was significant to our audit. C, the valuation of a financial instrument, no doubt, is a complex area on which you can include CAM. But what you should write in CAM? What two things you have to write in CAM? Tell me. I mentioned that in my lecture. No, what two things we have to write in CAM? Number one, why the matter is CAM and how it was addressed in the audit. So can you see the clear why and how in this paragraph? Can you see a clear why and how in this paragraph written by the senior? And can you name the director in the paragraph? Can you name Thomas Bolin in your audit report? Not at all. You cannot name the director. You will only say management. That is very, very wrong, right? You're naming Thomas Bolin here, which is technically wrong. And you're also saying, as a result of his inexperience, you're telling his inexperience publicly, which is very wrong. And you have not written anywhere in the CAM how it was addressed, what you did. You're simply saying because this involves the guesswork and this involves uncertainty. So as a result of this, we considered this significant to our audit. You consider this significant to our audit. That's the only thing you're telling. Significant on the basis of uncertainty. But that's not the way of writing CAM, right? Firstly, you cannot name a director. Secondly, you should tell in CAM why the matter was considered significant very carefully and how it was addressed. How it was addressed. That is missing. So many blunders, right, in the drafting of the CAM language. Guesswork, is that a professional word to use in the audit report? What is the proper jargon? Estimates. Estimates is the proper jargon, right? Guesswork is not a jargon. Estimate is a jargon. So we are writing a report as an auditor. So how can we use the word guesswork? The accounting language. The accounting language, Numan, is not judgments. The accounting language is estimates. Yes, exactly. And you're not making it clear whether the valuation of financial instrument was wrong or right, whether they did the valuation right or wrong. So there is a blur picture being presented in a key audit matter. Customer liquidation. You're including a CAM. Included in the receivable shown on the consolidated financial statement is an amount of 287,253 from a customer which has ceased trading. So in your receivable, there is an amount 287,253 from a customer which has ceased trading. On the basis that the group has no security for this debt, we believe that the group should make a full provision for impairment. So the group should write this off, thereby reducing the profit before tax. Thereby reducing the profit before tax? Do the company have profit? So thereby reducing the profit before tax, or thereby increasing the loss before tax? If you pass the bad debt entry, will your loss increase? So see the language? He's saying reducing the profit before tax, the company does not have profit. Increasing the loss before tax. And is it a negative item? Has the company recorded a bad debts? Can we give CAM for this? Can we give CAM for this? Customer liquidation. So I hope you're getting a definition of CAM. Examiner has tested that in the June 18 exams. The company has to be listed. It was. But the matter has to be significant. And the third thing, positive. So customer liquidation was a very significant matter, but it was not positive. So how can we include CAM? Yes, but it has to be positive. Even if it is a high risky area, it has to be positive. Even if it is an event, it has to be positive. Even if it is an estimate, it has to be positive. But if something is wrong, if there is a wrong accounting treatment, I cannot include CAM for wrong accounting treatments. I should have straight away qualified my report. Yes, significant means material, obviously, Muhammad Khalid. So can we start drafting the critical appraisal now? So many blunders in the audit report, 1 mark per critical appraisal. So let's see how to write in the answer. Now I've given you the sketch answer for this question, and I'll convert the sketch answer to proper paragraphs on a sample basis. Right in front of you is the question now. Marking scheme is 1 mark per critical appraisal. That's very clearly written on top. The first, CAM section. So should I be first concerned about the placement of CAM section, and should I tell examiner that the CAM section has been wrongly placed? My first point, placement of the CAM section. And I'll tell examiner that the CAM section in the audit report should come after opinion and basis of opinion paragraph. If there is an MURGC, okay, we'll address the MURGC later. The CAM section in the audit report should come after opinion and basis of opinion paragraph. And in this case, the senior has wrongly positioned the CAM para as the first para of the audit report, as the first para of the audit report. So that's the first critical appraisal, 1 mark. Placement of the CAM section. Second, CAM section should explain why the matter is considered as CAM and how it was addressed. So you will tell the second problem with CAM. Further, the CAM section should explain why the matter is considered as CAM and how it was addressed in the audit, and this was not clearly written, and the senior has not written the paragraph, the CAM paragraph, this way. So the senior has not written the CAM paragraph this way, right? So first of all, we got a problem that the CAM section has to be placed as not the first paragraph. Second problem we got was that the CAM section should explain why the matter is considered as CAM and how it was addressed, and the senior has not written the CAM para this way. Third, valuation of the financial instruments. Selection to include in CAM is appropriate. See, I'm appraising it positively. Selection to include the valuation of financial instrument. because it was a complex area. So I'm saying selection to include the valuation of financial instrument in CAM is appropriate, being area involving significant judgments and being a complex area. So you are appreciating for 1 mark. So selection to include the valuation is right. Second, however, in the CAM para for valuation of financial instruments, it is not clear that whether the valuation of the instruments were right or wrong, because that's very unclear in that paragraph. However, in the CAM para for valuation of financial instrument, it is not clear that whether the valuation of the instrument were right or wrong. And the para is ambiguous. It is a very ambiguous paragraph. Next, the guesswork. The guesswork is an inappropriate jargon, and cannot be used in the audit report because the audit report contains professional jargons used within the financial reporting standards. So the guesswork was an inappropriate word. Then last, the name of the director cannot be given in the audit report. The name of the director cannot be given in the audit report, nor does the inexperience of the director, nor does the inexperience of the director should be disclosed in the audit report. So that was another mistake. So see how many mistakes have we found for marks? Every point is giving us 1 mark. So we almost got like 6. So we got 6 marks just under the first para. We're just under the valuation of financial instrument. So this all goes down. Then comes customer liquidation. I'm doing just one more drafting. Customer liquidation. Next, point number 7. The 7th point, customer liquidation. Customer liquidation is a wrong accounting treatment, and cannot be included in CAM. Rather, it should have resulted in a qualified audit opinion. Customer liquidation is a wrong accounting treatment, right? And cannot be included in CAM. Rather, it should have resulted into a qualified opinion. Then next, because the bad debts are not recorded, the senior has mistakenly written that the profit will be understated. I think that was the right language, right? Reducing the profits. Because the bad debts are not recorded, the senior has mistakenly written that profits are overstated, whereas the company is loss making, thus the loss is Understated. The loss is understated, right? You can find out the materiality of the customer liquidation, right? It is material. So see, we got almost 8 because the bad debts are not recorded. The senior has mistakenly said that the profits are overstated, whereas the company is loss making, thus loss is understated. And on that ground, you can keep continuing the drafting of the critical appraisal. So whenever you get a question on critical appraisal, see the way you're writing the answer. You can write short paragraphs, and every short paragraph will give you 1 mark. So see, almost we got 8 critical appraisals here for the session. And then you have points after which you can convert to proper critical appraisals. I have discussed with you. So we should give murgc. We cannot give emphasis. This is a listed company, so no emphasis can come. There are many other blunders in the report which you can incorporate. Then the opinion para. The opinion para should come first rather than CAM coming first. So many blunders following in my sketch answer. So you can use my sketch answer and convert them to proper paragraphs. I hope everyone is clear with what exactly you have to do with critical appraisal. Yes, you can give headings 2 points. Ali Chaudhary, that's a good presentation. So if you want to give headings like valuation of financial instrument, or you want to give headings like customer liquidation, you can give headings, right? Yes, we have to, Abdullah, because that emphasis was wrong. So we have to recommend that we have to include this in murgc. Yes, that's right. The report should ideally be prepared by a manager, not by a senior. If you want to criticize that point, you can. Yes, obviously. If the customer liquidation point is resolved, then it will be positive. Yes, Hoso, you have to write it in the form of short paragraphs because every para is worth 1 mark. So you cannot make those lengthy paragraphs here, right? So just concise short paragraphs as I made in the session. So that's the perfect length of the paragraph. Okay, let's take the second question on reporting. I hope all of you are clear on critical appraisal. If I can get your yes and no answers quickly, so I can proceed to the second question. So if you get a question on critical appraisal, you need to find mistakes. So you can do the June 18 question through my sketch answer, and so that you can know how to write in a critical appraisal. So this was a 12 marks question. So that means you need to write 12 critical appraisals. Okay, let's start on with the second question. Okay, the second one for the session today, a much more important question because it will cover many other aspects. See this question in front of you. Now this question is asking many things to you. Yes, you can put the short paras with numbers. Okay, now can you see this question in front of you? This is from the December 17 exams asking you, explain the matters which should be discussed with the management in relation to each of the uncorrected misstatements. So there are 3 uncorrected misstatements given in the case study. And the examiner is saying, in relation to each of the uncorrected misstatement, what you have to do, explain the matters you should be discussing with management. So see, the matter is very important to understand in a reporting question. So this is a very typical question which comes many times in past paper. Explain the matters which should be discussed in relation to uncorrected misstatement. And secondly, assuming that the management does not adjust the misstatement. Assuming that the management does not adjust the misstatement. Evaluate the effect on the audit opinion. Evaluate the effect on the audit opinion. So first of all, you have to explain the matters which you should be discussing with management in relation to each of the uncorrected misstatement. And then you will assume that if the management does not adjust the misstatement, how will it affect the audit opinion? Right, and the marks are given above. The marks are given above for each issue. So if you can start looking at each of the issues. Okay, you are responsible for the audit of Baskin Company, a large listed company, right? So this is a large listed company. Again, see, the examiner is giving you the nature of the company. Usman, I will be guiding you how to split the 15 marks. Don't be worried about that. A large listed company. The audit of the financial statement for the year ended 31st of July is nearing complete, and you are reviewing the working papers. The financial statement recognizes the revenue. Now, you know why the examiner gives you this revenue of 56,360 million. The profit is 2,550 million, and the total assets is 37,546 million. And you know why the examiner gives you these numbers, right? For you to determine the materiality. And in a question on reporting, if all three are given, you will identify the percentage on all three, and on whichever it comes higher, you will use that. So you will identify percentage on all three: revenue, profit, and total asset, and on whichever it comes higher will prevail. Yes, Rabia. We need to tell the aggregate effect as well at the end of the answer. First individual, then aggregate. Okay, let's see what are the problems. The first problem: the accuracy of the depreciation charge was investigated. Can you read the first problem yourself on the screen and tell me what is the issue here basically in the first problem, and I can show you the materiality so that you can calculate the materiality as well. Can you just quickly go through the first one and take out your calculators and start to identify the percentages? Yes, there are marks for materiality calculations, right? And I'll be making that clarified once I go down writing the answer. Okay, now have you seen the problem in the sample of 4.5 million? In the sample of 4.5 million which we took, we found in a sample of 4.5 million that the depreciation in the sample has been understated, and the carrying value of the vehicles are overstated by $350,000. So in a sample of 4.5 million, we found that the depreciation was understated by $350,000, and the total population of the motor vehicles is 125 million. So what we need to do, $350,000 in isolation is immaterial, but the examiner is giving you the total population of the vehicles. The total population of the vehicles is 125 million, and we took a sample of 4.5 million. And in the sample of 4.5 million, there was a depreciation understatement of $350,000. So we have to extrapolate the numbers, right? We have to take out the extrapolated number. And how will you take out the extrapolated number? Let's go back to the Word file. Let's take on the second question. See the marking scheme. How will you get the 15 marks? 1 mark per relevant discussion. The entire marking scheme of reporting is on 1 mark. The error is error in isolation is immaterial. How much is the error? That is $350,000. So in isolation, this is immaterial. But what we have to do, we will get 1 mark when we tell examiner that in isolation it is immaterial. 1 mark. Error also immaterial when projected to the total population. Now, how would you have to show the projection to the examiner? Bracket 0.35 million 0.35 divided by 4.5 million multiplied by 125 million is equal to 9.27 million. So if you extrapolate them, it will come to like 9.27, 9.7, no, 9.27. The error is also immaterial when projected to the total population. So the error was 0.35 in a population in the sample of 4.5. So in the total population, it becomes 9.72 million. Now, you will tell examiner that on the basis of the extrapolation projection, it is still immaterial. Can you find out the percentage? 9.72 million is 0.38% of the total assets. Sorry, 0.38% of the profit, comma, it's 0.017% of the revenue and 0.0258% of the total assets. So see how minor the percentages are. So on the individual basis, even we have projected the $350,000 to the whole population. The answer is 9.72 million. And even on the basis of projection, the problem is immaterial. So 1 mark for error in isolation, 1 mark for error on projection basis. And if you show this calculation to the examiner of 9.72, so this will earn you 1 plus 1. Error also immaterial when projected. So to show the calculation and the materiality, you will get 2 marks. You got 1 mark from error in isolation. Yes, obviously this is trivial, right? Not even immaterial. This is trivial percentages, decimal percentages. Client should be requested to amend the error. So you should request the client to amend the error. You cannot force them because this is not material, but you should request them to amend the error. So you are requesting, not forcing them. So you should request them to amend the error. So that is another matter you should be discussing with the management. So the question was comment on the matters you should be discussing with the management. So we should request them to amend the error, 1 mark. Auditor should investigate the revised non-current asset register. If the management has made the amendments, then you should investigate the revised non-current asset register, another 1 mark. If you want to write this point in exam paper. So if you request management to make the amendment and the management do make amendment, then you can investigate the revised non-current asset register to ensure that the management has amended the depreciation charge in the non-current asset register. So matters you should discuss with management. So matters you should be discussing with regards to uncorrected misstatement. So see how many marks you just got. 1 mark, then another 2 marks, 3, then another mark, 4, then another mark, 5. See, more than the desired marks. And then it was, what is the individual impact on the report? The examiner was asking, individual impact on report. If the management refused to amend, because the examiner was saying assume that, so if the management refused to amend, there is no material misstatement because it's immaterial. So there will be an unmodified opinion. That means there will be no impact on the audit report. So individual impact, I hope all of you agree, there is no individual impact because the matter is very trivial. It's just like 0.38% of the profit. So can there be any impact on the audit report of this misstatement? So the examiner was saying individual misstatement. So 1 mark for telling there is no material misstatement, 1 mark for this, and 1 mark for no impact on the report. So per issue, you have to take 5 marks, right? Over here, we're just like taking 7 marks on the first issue out of the total 15 marks. So examiner is saying for every valid point you write, I'll give you 1 mark. Whether that is a valid point for matter or whether that is a valid point for impact on report. Yes, we can, Kiran Kumar. Can we answer sub question 1 and 2 simultaneously? Yes, yes, we can. We can. Yes, we can discuss the right accounting treatment with the management. That's basically the client should be requested to amend the error. Yes, you are concluding, right? In the individual impact on the report, Rabia, you are concluding that this is a no material misstatement. So you're concluding, and on the basis of your conclusion, you're giving the impact on the opinion. So you took out the percentages above, right? And on the basis of those percentages, now you're concluding that the ultimate matter on an individual basis is immaterial, and the auditor should be giving no impact on the audit report. Okay, let's see the second one. I hope you got the extrapolation from this question, how to extrapolate the error in a population. Okay, now can you read the second one in front of your screen and tell me what's the issue in the second one? See the problem number 2. Just spend 1 minute on the problem 2 and tell me what's the issue. What should I do with the second problem? Yes, that's a related party transaction. See, examiner deliberately reduced the amount for you to get confused in exam paper. A lot of you will take out the calculators and start to divide the $75 million, $75,000. This is not $75,000, right? This is a related party transaction. It's material by nature, not $75,000. So we have given a loan to Mrs. C. Angel, who is a key member of the senior management. The total amount is $75,000, and the note has not been given. So is that financial statements are materially misstated? Shamsuddin, emphasis of a meta paragraph. There has not been any disclosure. Shamsuddin, there has not been any disclosure. It is material by nature. So should I give a qualified opinion? Yes or no? The matter is material and it has not been disclosed. I should be giving a qualified opinion. That's exactly what I've done in my sketched answer. Related party transaction, and I tell examiner that this is a related party transaction, I'll get 1 mark. It's material by nature, I'll get another 1 mark. I'm not showing any calculations here, right? Requires full disclosure in the financial statement, another 1 mark. I'll tell examiner that this is a related party transaction because it involves a director. It is material by nature. It requires a full disclosure in the financial statement as per the relevant financial reporting standard. No field. It is not pervasive by nature. It's only material by nature. Failure to adjust. Failure to adjust. It will be material but not a pervasive misstatement, and thus a qualified opinion will be given. So see, we got 5 marks here. Every valid point takes 1 mark. Yes, South, but currently it's not disclosed, right? So why are we discussing disclosed? Currently it's not disclosed. So if it is not disclosed, then as simple as that, it should have been a qualified opinion. So see, in the first part, we got the calculation of extrapolation. In the second part, we got something material by nature. And on that basis, we simply got a qualified opinion. And on the first part, even though we did a calculation of 9.72 million, the ultimate answer was this is immaterial and there is no impact on the audit report. So see, we're taking accumulative marks. Now you go down with number 3. See who tells me the right answer for number 3. Can you just read number 3 here and tell me what should we be doing with number 3 on your screen? Just read the number 3 and tell me the right opinion. You need to do a lot of calculations in number 3. So please take out your calculator. Yes, Numan, we can discuss that. Abdullah, the right jargon is omission of a disclosure. So management has recorded the estimate on 4%, right? And the auditor believe it should have been recorded on 7%, right? Is that right? The management has recorded the estimate on 4% and the auditor wants that to be recorded on 7%, right? Mansoor Khan, lack of evidence. Is there a lack of evidence in that question? There is no limitation. The last line says the audit procedure found that the refund levels were also similar to the previous year and there was insufficient evidence at the early stage to confirm whether the new system was more effective or not. This is basically the lacking of the auditor. The auditor is saying that at the early stage of the audit, I had less evidence. It's not saying that the management has imposed a limitation on you or the management is not giving you evidence. It's a disagreement. I hope all of you agree with me. This is a disagreement on an accounting treatment between 4% and 7%. So what is 1 month sale? How would you do the calculation? The 1 month sale is how much? Calculation of the potential provision value and the value of adjustment. Who will show me the calculation of the potential misstatement? 56,360 million is the total value of the sales, right? We'll divide it by 12 to get the 1 month sales. The 1 month sales is 4670 million. That's the monthly sales. And how much should be the monthly sales be? 7%. 7% of the monthly sales becomes 329 million. 329 million, right? On the basis of 7%. And what the management has done? The management has charged it on, the management has taken on 4%. So if the management has taken it on 4%, so the management must have recorded it at 187 million. So management has recorded a provision of 187. The auditor wants a provision to be recorded at 329 million. So the difference, what's the difference between the two amounts? The difference between the two amounts is, the difference is 142 million, which should be adjusted, which should be adjusted. Now take out the materiality. This 142 million is 5.57% of the profit. So see, it became material. And this 142 million is 0.251% of the revenue. And this is 0.37% of the total assets. So is it a material adjustment, 142 million? And I hope all of you are getting 142 million has come from where? Sorry, 5.57% of the loss. So will it increase the loss more? Over here as well, we have to use the word loss. So do you all agree that this is material? The company is loss making, right? Abdullah, so 5.57% of the loss, right? Herbert, we got 329 million because that we have to take the total sales and we need to divide them by 12 so we can get 1 month sales, Herbert. And the provision is basically 7% of the 1 month sale. So you need to take out the 1 month sale. See, I divided the 56,360 with 12. So I got 4670 as 1 month sale. And on the 1 month sale, I applied the 7% and I got 329 million. No. It says the provision is 7% of only 1 month sale. It is not saying provision is 7% of the annual sales. Muhammad Yusuf Sheikh, read the line very carefully. It's not 7% of the annual sales. It's 7% of the 1 month sale. Yes, Bilal Farooq, that's right. Okay, I'm really sorry. This question, right, is the December 17 question, right? So this question had a profit, not a loss. The previous question we were doing had a profit. Okay, so that was right, profit. And again, I was right here using the word profit. Right, Abdullah, that is profit, right? That is profit. So is this provision material? So adjustment is material to the P&L. That's another 1 mark. So you will tell examiner the adjustment is material to the profit and loss account. It's 5%, 1 mark. Calculation of the potential provision. You will get 1 mark for this, rather 2 marks for this, because you're finding the materiality and the calculation. And it is a matter of judgment, must be supported by evidence, because it is a judgmental matter, right? Because you're recording a provision. Provision is a judgmental matter. So it is a matter of judgment, must be supported by evidence. We need a lot of evidence. It could be potential earning management, because normally the management use the estimates for earning management. So this could be a potential earning management, because the management could use estimates or lower estimates to window dress the financial statement. So it could be creative accounting, it could be earning management. Right? So it's a matter of judgment, must be supported by evidence. So we need a lot of evidence from the management to confirm that the 4% basis is right. So evidence on the basis of 4%, otherwise the management will be wrong. Request the management to reinstate the full provision. Yes, South, creative accounting, earning management, as simple as that, window dressing, right? The window dressing of the financial statement. So if the management does not adjust the provision, will it lead down to a qualified opinion? So which percentage we took? We took the higher percentage, 5.7% of the profit, which was material. So whichever percentage is higher will prevail. So we took the higher percentage, which was 5.7%. A lot of students is asking this question, whichever percentage is higher rules, prevails. So the higher percentage here is 5.57% of the profit. So we took that as the higher percentage. And on that basis, if the management does not adjust the financial statement, it will lead down to a qualified opinion. And South Lakhani, I hope you're clear with earning management. Earning management means the window dressing of the financial statement. So management can use the estimates to make the window dressing of the financial statement. Burhan, I hope you got your answer. Should we take the higher percentage? And Muhammad Khalid, I hope you got your answer right. We should get evidence from the management for the basis of estimate. And Shamsuddin, yes, you can calculate that way. The answer will get right. Yes, the company is profit making, right? Not loss making. I just got distracted writing loss. Just with the previous question, June 18, we were attempting, which had a loss making company. Yes, Hassan, you can use that approach. You can use that approach. But currently, I'm just focusing on that examiner says for every matter you will write, you will get 1 mark. So is everyone clear with how we did the part of depreciation? Is everyone clear with the extrapolation in the depreciation? If I can get your yes and no answers. Is everyone clear how we extrapolated the depreciation on the total population? Yes, we are, because the see COSO, see the requirement of the question. The requirement of the question is saying individual impact, right? So the requirement of the question is not saying the aggregate impact. So that is the reason COSO, we are taking it on the individual basis. Yes, Ali, we should be discussing the basis with the management as 1 mark answer. Yes, Abdullah, you have to explain the why in the reporting answer. Uh, Tasneem Shams, uh, the extrapolation is very simple, right? 4.5 million was your sample. So in a sample of 4.5 million, you got a error of 0.35. So I divided the 0.35 with the sample of 4.5, and then I multiplied that with the total population of 125 to got the 9.72 answer. Yes, yes, Saud, you can use the approach. You can use that approach. You can use the approach in answering the methods. Yes, Muhammad Khalid, we are not giving any aggregation here because the examiner is not asking for aggregation. Examiner is asking for an individual impact. If you want to see the aggregations, you can see my previous webinars because I've covered the aggregation in my previous webinar in a lot of questions. Yes, yes, Numan, it can be. It can be. No, Shamsuddin, 9.72%. It's 9.72 million. See on your screen, it's 9.72 million, and you're dividing the 9.72 million with the profit, revenue, and total assets. See the percentages. The percentages are all immaterial. Keep a focus. Keep a focus. Yes, you need to, Zahid Abbas, you need to convert these bullets in front of your screens into like paragraphs. It's like a 1 mark paragraph, just like critical appraisal. So you're not just making lengthy paragraphs and wasting your time in exam hall, because for every matter you write in a reporting question, you will get 1 mark. Noman, why will we use CAM in the second meta? Why are you confusing yourself? Is it a positive matter, the second one? Right, so I hope you're clear with these two draftings. You have the sketch answer with you. You have my recordings with you as well of the previous webinar, and you will be getting recording of this webinar as well. So please ensure you spend time on these two questions, which were part of the session today, which is basically June 18 and December 17. And you can also do your home assignments for December 16 and June 15. But please, when you are attempting a question on reporting, be very critical of the use of calculator, because if you wrongly use the calculator and you identified the wrong value of the misstatement, or you identified the wrong materiality of the misstatement, then your answer will be absolutely wrong. So you have to assure that you go down with the proper calculations. Rabia, in these questions, one of the question is on aggregate. So you will get the aggregate understanding, and then again through my previous webinars. Okay, now I just want to spend 10 minutes before I get down to the Q&A and the feedback of the session today about how would you be preparing yourself for December 18 exams. Now just listen to me for 5 minutes carefully and just focus on how would you be preparing for December 18 exams. Khatija, you have to read the examiner article, exam technique article, part 5, and you will be very clear on that. As simple as that. CAM is for a listed company. Emphasis is for a non-listed company. That's a more perfect rule to survive yourself in exam paper. Okay, now if you're preparing yourself for the December 18 exams, over the last 5 days, you have seen many topics in the sessions, from risk to evidence to ethical professional quality control issues to other assignments, and today finally down with reporting. And over the last 5 days, you must have got to know a lot of information about marking schemes, a lot of information about attempting questions, a lot of information about the do's and don'ts, the articles to read, etc. Now you have to make a proper timetable from today, and you have to see how much time is left for your exams, which is on the 3rd of December, and make a timetable and allocate proper time to each area. Now you know that in P7 or in the Advanced Audit and Assurance exam, first of all, you should be knowing the core areas, right? And spend time on each core area properly. And for each core area, you have to spend a proper time. How? For each core area, when you're spending a proper time, firstly, you would take the knowledge, and the first source of the knowledge has to be the examiner article. If there is no examiner article, then the second source of the knowledge will become the book. And then you have to practice. And for the practice, again, your first priority for practice has to be 2015 to 2018 exams. And your second priority for practice is to be 2013 to 2014 exams. So for every core area, make a timetable. First, ensure that how much knowledge you have for each core area. Read the examiner article or read the book. Now, each one of you are standing at a different position. Some of you are repeating. Some of you are going for the first time. Some of you must have read the book before joining the practice to pass session. Some of you will now be reading the book. So every one of you know your positions, right? So in context of your positions, make a timetable. Practice. Do the past papers. First priority is 2015 to 18 exams, and the second priority is 2013 and 2014 exams. Now, which core areas? You know the core areas, right? Risk. You cannot go into the exam hall without under-prepared on risk. Evidence. Procedures. Spend time. Ethical, professional, and quality control issues. And quality control issues. Other assignments, particularly the due diligence, particularly performance information. Yesterday, and I even mentioned that if you want to take forensic, you can take my March 18 webinar recordings. And the last thing, reporting. These are core areas, right? You cannot skip any of these areas because this is the focal 100 marks in exam. You have to practice on risk. You have to practice on evidence. Now, each one of you has to decide in which area you are stronger and in which area you are weaker, because you have to prioritize them. One of you can start with risk when you're preparing yourself for December exams. Another one of you can start with reporting. So each one of you has to judge which is more important, which is less important in terms of your priorities. Abdullah, what is likely for December exams, I've mentioned many times, because the paper has now become compulsory, so there cannot be question spottings. There cannot be predictions. But yes, I have conducted the practice to pass sessions on some core areas, which must give you some sense that why I have done a business risk question in the practice to pass session rather than an audit risk question. So I hope if you're clever enough, you can pick the hints in the last 5 days. So each one of you know which core areas you are weaker in or stronger in. So can you prioritize these core areas? Each one of you will have a different priorities, right? So start from the area you are weak in. But please ensure if you're practicing the past papers from 2011, 2010, you are not doing justice to 2018 exam sitting. If you want to do a proper justice to 2018 exam sitting, please ensure you are attempting more recent exam papers. You are attempting more recent exam papers. Because if you're not attempting the more recent exam papers, you are not doing justice with yourself. And you're not even doing justice with the exam paper, which will come on the 3rd of December. Right? So ensure which areas you will take as first, second, third, fourth, fifth. You have plenty of time. Today is the 9th of November. 3rd of December is the paper. You have plenty of time. You need to sit down with proper resources. And the proper resources, first of all, includes the past paper. Second includes the technical articles of the examining team, and sit down. And obviously I mentioned that yesterday there is a current issue article. So you have to read the current issue article as well, which is on the ISA 540. And I did show you that in the session yesterday. So there is a current issue article, ISA 540. So you have to download it and read it, because the current issue is potential for this exam sitting. At least that is something which I can tell you. So you cannot go in the exam hall without reading the ISA 540 article. So please ensure that if any one of you have not yet downloaded this article, please do download this article today and start to read it. It will hardly take 1 to 2 hours to read the article. It's just a 3-page article. So it will not take much of your time. Yes, it's a new article, so the examiner can even test the knowledge, and the examiner has done so many times. So please do read this current issue article. That's a must. That's a must. You cannot skip that. And prioritize the core areas and spend time on each core area very, very carefully. Please remember one thing. If you want to be successful this time in P7, particularly those who are repeating P7, let's make a formula for success. Number one, read the requirements carefully. Read the requirements carefully. Read the requirements carefully. See what is the examiner asking, rather than assuming what is the examiner asking. You cannot just be wild on assumptions. Read the requirement carefully, see what is the examiner asking, write that, rather than assuming what is the examiner asking. Because if you assume what he is asking, you will go on the wrong track. Number one. Number two, clearly focus on how many points to write. How many points to write? Be sure of the marking scheme. Because if you are writing more, that's useless. Because if you're writing more, you are not completing your 100% paper. So clearly focus on how many points to write and be sure of the marking scheme. Don't just go after completing one question with perfection. Don't just go after completing one question with perfection. Rather, complete the 100% paper. Rather, complete the 100% paper. So don't just be on one question and make it as good as possible. And you just end the exam paper with a 50 marks question, and you come out of the exam hall saying, I just did one question of 50 marks. How can that one question enables you to pass your exams? So don't just go after completing one question with perfection, rather complete the 100% paper. That's very, very important. Now the paper format has become so easier, 3 questions in 3 hours. Now no one of you can complain of the time management. No one of you can complain, I don't complete paper. If you are doing so, that means you're writing a lot. You have to skim your writings. Complete and concise writing. Complete and concise writings. Remember one thing, when you are explaining a point in exam paper for 1 mark, it should include why or what, because without either because without either why or what, you will not score the full 1 mark. So if you want to gain that full 1 mark, you need to write the why. If you say this is a risk, why? If you say the auditor should review the board minutes, why? If you say the auditor should recalculate the deferred tax, why? If you say that this is a self-review threat, why? So if you say this will lead down to a qualified opinion, why? If you say this will lead down to a disclaimer of opinion, why? Every topic includes why. So you have to focus on why if you want to take that 1 mark completely in the exam context. Else you will not be taking 1 mark, you will just be taking 0.5 marks. And normally students then flunk at 47, 48 and 49. So don't just go after completing one question, rather complete the 100 marks paper. When you are explaining a point in exam paper for 1 mark, it should include the why. And please ensure your answer has to be complete yet concise. Complete yet concise. Should not be lengthy. Because you write a lot illogical. You keep writing and writing and writing even if it is not making sense at all. Complete yet concise answers. I've shown you draftings in my sessions from day 1 to day 5. I've drafted paragraphs with you. You must have seen lengths of my paragraphs. Sometimes they are bigger, sometimes they're small. You need to do compromisations. So please ensure you're reading the requirements carefully, and a more important thing, you need to be contextualized. You need to adapt. You need to be contextualized. You need to adapt your answer to the case study. Rote learning will not be helpful. Contextualize. Adapt your answer to the case study. The more you adapt, the better for you. So rote learning will not be of any use in exam paper. Contextualize the things. Present your answer in a well manner with proper headings. Please use headings a lot. That is a real good presentation of the AAA paper. Proper headings and with small paras. Break the para when you need to start a new point. Break the paras when you need to start a new point. You cannot write congested, because if you're writing congested, you are calling yourself into troubles. Because the examiner says, again, one of the few reasons why you fail the AAA paper is your bad presentation and illegible handwriting. And particularly if any one of you has an illegible handwriting, then this format is very good. Proper headings and a small paragraphs. Because most of the students have a very bad handwriting. So present your answers in a well manner with proper headings and a small paras. Break the para when you need to start the new point. So these are things which will bring you closer to success. Completing 100% paper, answering the why, adapting yourself, contextualizing yourself, reading things carefully. And please don't take hypothetical assumptions. Don't take hypothetical assumptions, because student takes them a lot. Don't take wild assumptions in exam paper. You confuse yourself with assumptions. You are doing the same in the reporting lecture today. You were confusing yourself. I was saying CAM will come in listed company. So all of you were asking what will happen in a non-listed company. You were confusing yourself. The rule says CAM is for a listed company, as simple as that. The rule says emphasis is for a non-listed company. And then you were asking, what if you have to use the emphasis in a listed company? You were confusing yourself, and you do the same in the exam hall. When there is a rule, the rule is a rule, right? On a rule, you cannot take assumptions. So rule has to be crystal clear. And if you keep breaking the rules, then obviously you are keeping yourself far away from the 50 barrier. And yes, another question raising in, section A first, section A first always. Don't start the paper in a disorder manner. I'll do section B first and section A after. Such a bad approach. Section A first, section B after. You have good enough time, right? You have 3 hours and 15 minutes. So you can give 90 minutes to the section A for writing, and you can equally give 90 minutes to section B writing. And in the 15 minutes of the reading and planning time, you can at least read the 50 marks case study. No, I will never prefer you to start with section B. So these are some of my tips and techniques which I believe will help you in passing the paper. And I will be sharing these files with you on the WhatsApp group, and I'll be sharing some more advices on the WhatsApp group over the next 1 and 2 days, so that you can have a better preparation for your exams in December 18. And if you just keep implementing what you learned in these last 5 days, you are closer to success. But if you still take your assumptions and you still take your philosophies and myths and misconceptions to exam hall, you're spoiling yourself. So can you just give me a quick feedback of the entire 5-day sessions you attended on the advanced audit and assurance? Because we are just into the last 1 and 2 minutes of the session winding up. Yes, Muhammad Khalid, you will get the mark for the right conclusion, but you will not be getting marks for the wrong calculations. Wakas, can you please raise that question on the WhatsApp group? So please, if you can all drop in your messages for the overall feedback of the last 5 days. So I have an idea how effectively you have utilized these 5 days to prepare yourself for the December 3 exams. Yes, I'll be sharing all my files. I've been sharing my files, right, of the day 1 to day 4 on the WhatsApp group, and I'll be sharing the file of the class today as well. And if any one of you still are not on the WhatsApp group, can you kindly email me at kashifkamran@gmail.com, so I can add you in the list of the WhatsApp and share with you my resources. It's kashifkamran@gmail.com. You can email me on that. Yes, my prayers are with all of you, and I wish you best of luck for your exams on the 3rd of December. And I believe you should come out with success when the results are announced. Okay, that is it for the session, and that is it for the Practice to Pass session for Advanced Audit and Assurance being organized by ACC Pakistan for December 18 exams. Once again, I wish you best of luck for your exams in December, and it's time to say you goodbye and Allah Hafiz. Have a nice day and have an effective preparation.